serious and in earnest, that's clear.' 'What's he been saying, my dear?' demanded Mrs Wackles. 'All manner of things,' replied Miss Cheggs. 'You can't think how out he has been speaking.' Richard Swiveller considered it advisable to hear no more, but taking advantage of a pause in the dancing, and the approach of Mr Cheggs to pay his court to the old lady, swaggered with an extremely careful assumption of extreme carelessness towards the door, passing on the way Miss Jane Wackles, who in all the glory of her curls was holding a flirtation, as good practice when no better was to be had, with a feeble old gentleman who lodged in the parlour. Near the door sat Miss Sophy, still fluttered and confused by the attentions of Mr Cheggs, and by her side Richard Swiveller lingered for a moment to exchange a few parting words. 'My boat is on the shore, and my bark is on the sea, but before I pass this door, I will say farewell to thee,' murmured Dick, looking gloomily upon her. 'Are you going?' said Miss Sophy, whose heart sank within her at the result of her stratagem, but who affected a light indifference notwithstanding. 'Am I going?' echoed Dick bitterly. 'Yes, I am. What then?' 'Nothing, except that it's very early,' said Miss Sophy. 'But you are your own master, of course.' 'I would that I had been my own mistress too,' said Dick, 'before I had ever entertained a thought of you. Miss Wackles, I believed you true, and I was blessed in so believing, but now I mourn that ere I knew a girl so fair yet so deceiving.' Miss Sophy bit her lip, and affected to look with great interest after Mr Cheggs, who was quaffing lemonade in the distance. 'I came here,' said Dick, rather oblivious of the purpose with which he had really come, 'with my bosom expanded, my heart dilated, and my sentiments of a corresponding description. I go away with feelings that may be conceived, but cannot be described; feeling within myself that desolating truth, that my best affections have experienced this night a stifler.' 'I am sure I don't know what you mean, Mr Swiveller,' said Miss Sophy, with downcast eyes. 'I'm very sorry if—' 'Sorry, ma'am,' said Dick, 'sorry in the possession of a Cheggs, but I wish you a very good night, concluding with this slight remark, that there is a young lady growing up at this present moment for me, who has not only great personal attractions, but great wealth, and who has requested her next of kin to propose for my hand, which, having a regard for some members of her family, I have consented to promise. It's a gratifying circumstance, which you'll be glad to hear, that a young and lovely girl is growing into a woman expressly on my account, and is now saving up for me. I thought I'd mention it. I have now merely to apologize for trespassing so long upon your attention. Good night. There is one good thing springs out of all this,' said Richard Swiveller to himself, when he had reached home, and was hanging over the candle with the extinguisher in his hand, 'which is that I now go heart and soul, neck and heels, with Fred in all his schemes about little Nelly, and right glad he'll be to find me so strong upon it. He shall know all about that to-morrow, and in the meantime, as it's rather late, I'll try and get a wink of the Barmy.' The Barmy came almost as soon as it was courted. In a very few minutes Mr Swiveller was fast asleep, dreaming that he had married Nelly Trent, and come into the property, and that his first act of power was to lay waste the market garden of Mr Cheggs, and turn it into a brick field. Chapter 8.